Hello everybody, I am here with Little Dreamers. This is Marietta with Little Dreamers Baby Sleep Consulting, and I'm here to answer your questions for free. So hopefully you had a chance to turn in your question because next week is Thanksgiving and I won't be doing this next week. So hopefully we can get through everything. And if you are jumping on seeing this and realizing you forgot to ask your question, type it in the comments. More than likely I'll be able to get to it. So first off, if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I chopped my hair off, and you may notice that if you follow me or have seen some of these. So I chopped off a bunch of my hair, and I like it mostly. It's there's no layers in it. It's just like a very brunt cut. And as I'm looking at myself right now, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of like it. But when I was doing my hair today, I was like, oh, it's not working. And anyway, so I had some friends tell me, oh, it looks so cute. Like, I don't think you should change it all. And now I'm like torn because I was thinking about just like putting in a little layer so it's like softer at the bottom, because sometimes I think it like falls funny with the brunt cut. If you're a hair person, give me your opinion. Help me out with this. Maybe I just need to keep it for like a week or two and see how it feels on me longer. But that's always fun. It always feels good to get your hair cut, and it's all gone now, and yeah, so fun stuff over here. Okay, I am doing this a little bit early tonight. Normally I jump on at 8, but I decided to hurry and do this at 7:30 because my husband took all the kids at 7 to our church for an activity, and I thought I would move this up since I'm home alone and get this done before they get back, and then we are going to rush the kids to bed since they'll be going to bed a little bit late tonight. So hopefully nobody minds. You can always watch it later when you get on at 8. It should be done by then, so then you could watch it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to go ahead and start with Laura Glissmeyer. Let me go ahead and read your question. You say, hi, my baby is 4 months old and used to sleep really well, but has struggled lately. So he's probably hit the 4-month sleep regression. We don't have a nap schedule at all. Fairly normal for a 4-month-old. They don't get really consistent until 5 to 6 months, but there are some things that can be consistent in a 4-month-old. Wake up time and then that first nap can be really consistent, and the rest is pretty flexible based on how long their naps are. Okay. I've tried to put her down in less than 2 hours since wake times, and she can sleep for a little bit, like 45 minutes to an hour tops, but it isn't consistent. Okay, so one thing is 2 hours is kind of long for a 4-month-old. I would kind of shoot for like an hour and a half, and sometimes like early in the morning it's going to be like when she first wakes up, it might just be an hour wake time, and then later in the day maybe closer to 2 hours. But if it's pretty consistently 2 hours, she may just be getting a little overtired before she goes down for her naps, and that could be keeping her naps somewhat short. Also, a hour nap, 45 minute to an hour nap, is normal for a 4-month-old. Anywhere from 30 minutes to 90 minutes is normal. So that 45 minute to an hour nap, I'm not concerned about it. I'm not worried that she's going to be, a bad napper or anything like that. But I get that you might, as a mom, want it to be longer, and so we'll talk about that too. She wakes up and fusses a lot, so her naps don't end up happening. Okay. We've tried to be consistent with bedtime, but we basically put her to bed by 9 p.m., and then my husband will feed her before he leaves for work, usually around 6 a.m. Then she'll sleep again for a bit and wake inconsistently between 8 and 10 a.m. Obviously, this has not been working for us, but there's so much sleep info out there that I feel totally lost. There is a lot of sleep info out there. I know our quality of sleep in mine is not great. Would love a strict plan to follow, so there's no guesswork. Okay, so if you want a strict plan to follow, Laura, what I would start with is waking her up every day. My ideal time is 7. If you want to wake her up at 8, that's fine, but be consistent at waking her up and starting the day every single day at the same time, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever that is. I'm going to give you a strict schedule based on a 7 o'clock wake up because I think it's easier. You can always adjust it based on your wake up time. Wake her up at 7, and then by 8:30 have her down for her first nap. It may need to be earlier, like especially that first night. Maybe put her down at 8 because she's going to be tired, and maybe she'll get used to that. That's fine. From there, she's probably on a 4-nap schedule. So You can help her go to sleep, following wake times, about an hour and a half between each one. Follow her cues. If you don't have my newborn survival sleep guide, you can go to my website and download that, and that'll it goes over sleepy cues to look for. She's still in the age where you can follow a lot of that newborn stuff because she's just barely 4 months old. So the rest of the naps are going to depend on wake times, and she's going to have probably 4 naps in the day. Sorry, my phone's going off, guys. She's probably going to have 4 naps, and then I'm going to want her to have an earlier bedtime. I'm going to shoot for 12 hours from when she wakes up. So if she's waking up at 7, I want her to go to sleep at 7 too. So kind of aim for that. Now, bedtime is, again, going to be flexible because naps are inconsistent. So it might be later, it might be a little earlier. She can go to bed as early as 6. That's totally fine. Even 5:30 if she has an awful day with no naps. You can go to bed as early as 5:30 once in a while. So that's kind of what a strict schedule is going to look like at 4 months. Now, she is old enough to sleep train, and I don't know how she's falling asleep, but if you sleep train her, my bet is that will help naps as well. So if you're interested in sleep training, if you want to know what that is, go to my website, and there's a blog post entitled, I think it's just FAQ of sleep training, and read that and get an idea of why it's important and what it is and when you can do it. And it answers just a lot of basic questions about sleep training. So that's something you may want to think about for her, but if you're just interested in the schedule, then we've outlined that for you. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions, Laura. Okay, we're going to jump down to Nicole. And Nicole McLean says, how long is too long to have a baby cry with the Ferber method? Okay, great question, Nicole. When I do my sleep videos, I mostly talk about cried out because it's just the easiest one to talk about. Like when you're answering questions, it's easiest to just say, oh, and then leave them in there until they fall asleep. So the Ferber method is gradual checks, and I'm just going to share like my preferred method of doing checks. So her question is, how long is too long to have a baby cry with the Ferber method? So much like cried out, there's no limit for how long it can take the baby to fall asleep at night. Like it's not like after an hour you're going to go in and soothe them to sleep. You're never going to soothe the baby to sleep. You're going to allow the baby to fall asleep on their own. What you can do if you don't want to do cried out and just leave them in there is you can do checks. So when I do checks at nighttime, I put the baby down and then I leave the room, and as soon as the baby starts crying, so if they don't cry, I don't set my timer, but as soon as they start crying, I set my timer. And I always set my timer starting off for 15 minutes. Even if you're doing checks that are going to be shorter than that, always start at 15 minutes, because 15 minutes is like the magic number of how long it can take a baby to soothe itself back to sleep. So 15 minutes. And then anytime you hear the baby like stop crying, de-escalate their crying, anything like that, what's happening in that moment is they're figuring out how to self-soothe. So we don't want to interrupt that by checking on them, right? So anytime you hear that de-escalation and crying, they stop for 30 seconds, they go from crying to a whimper, like it de-escalates, anything like that, you want to start your timer over. Set it back to the 15 minutes, right? Now say you leave and they're crying for 15 minutes, it doesn't de-escalate, nothing. Go in and you want to check on them, and then you have to decide what you're doing for your checks. And obviously the less that you do, the sooner they'll learn what's happening. And the more that you do, the longer it will take them to learn what's going on. So when you go in and you've decided, okay, I'm just going to stand at the door and talk. That's what I'm going to do to soothe them. So you can walk in, you can stand at the door, you can talk for a few minutes, and then you leave again. When you leave, you can set your timer. And this really depends on how spaced out you want your checks to be at this point once you've done your initial 15-minute check. Because you can do like 5 minutes. I've seen people do 3 minutes. I think that's a little, like if you're already doing 15, my advice is to do at least 5, maybe 10. But whatever you choose, whatever your increments are. So you say you're going to do 5. So great, you're going to do 5 minutes that first check, and then you're going to increase it a little bit and do 7, and then you're going to increase it for the next one and do 10, and you're going to increase it for the next check and do 12. You're going to increase it for the next check and do 15. So you're gradually increasing the amount of your check time in between check times as it gets later and later. And then each day you're also increasing the amount of weight. So instead of going from 5 to 7 to 10, the next night you would go from like 7 to 10 to 12. You'll just start a little bit later. You could spread them out a little further, and instead of going every 2 or 3 minutes, you're going from 5 to 10 to 15, right? And doing 5-minute increments. So you don't have to do that little. You could do 15-minute checks. You could do 30-minute checks. Again, the less amount of checks that we do, the quicker the child will understand what's going on. The more that we're checking on them, they're just going to be super confused, right? So keep that in mind. At night, like I said, there's no limit to how long you're doing checks. So if you're doing checks, you could be doing checks for hours. I hope not. I mean, some kids, it's like 15 minutes they're asleep or 30 minutes they're asleep. But it could be a long time. So there's no limit. Now for nap times, there is a limit. It's 1 hour. That's how long. If they don't fall asleep in an hour, then we just get them up. We can either try again for another nap or just keep them up to the next sleep cycle, depending on what plan you're following, what you're doing. Hopefully that helps with the fervor. If you're watching and you have other questions about how to do that, write it in the comments really quick and I can answer questions about I call it gradual extinction check. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else you need to know about that. Also, I don't do checks, even if I have a client who's doing checks at night and during naps, I don't do checks in the early morning. So between 5 to 6 or whenever they wake up at 7 or something, after 5 I don't do any checks because it is very, very, very extremely unlikely that a child will go back to sleep after you peeked your head in the early morning. That is their lightest sleep cycle and they're not going to go back to sleep. So we just leave them until it's time to get up. So that's like my one. I mean, I guess you can try it, but I don't think it'll work. Like, I think they'll just see you and they'll continue to wake up. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to Haley Kaplan. Let me note the time. Okay, Haley says, how long and how often should a 6-month-old be napping? This is a tricky question because 6-month-olds can be on a 3-nap schedule and a 2-nap schedule. So I'll just highlight what either of those would look like. At 6 months, I do like naps to be based on the clock. So we're not following wake times or anything like that. We're just I'm looking at my clock as I say this. We're looking at the clock and we're putting kids down based on the clock. So let's do a schedule for 7 a.m. wake up. You're going to do your first nap sometime between 8:30 and 9. You're going to do, and I'm giving you a range here just because some kids can like to be awake longer and some kids need their sleep earlier, and it could vary depending on your schedule and when you're home and when you're running other kids around. So that's why I'm giving you a range. But when you choose your naps, you're not going to choose a range. You're just going to choose the time. Okay, so the first nap on a 3-nap schedule for a 6-month-old, the first nap will be sometime between 8:30 and 9. The second nap I like to see around 12. That can go half an hour earlier or half an hour later. And then the third nap is sometime between 3 or 3:30. That third nap is typically only 30 to 45 minutes. It's a cat nap. And the other 2 naps really are about an hour. They could be an hour and a half. Like maybe they go to bed earlier and they sleep longer and then they are a little bit later for their afternoon nap. But that's kind of what it looks like. No nap should be over 2 hours. So that's what a 3-nap schedule looks like. On a 2-nap schedule, at about 6 months, we're going to move that first nap a little bit later, starting sometime between 9:30 and 10. And then that afternoon nap is going to start, let's see here. I always have to do my math when I'm getting to the afternoon nap for this one because it can vary so much. So for their 2-nap schedule, I don't like that afternoon nap to ever start later than 2:30. I want them up by 3:30 if they're on a nap schedule. Now that's kind of late for a 6-month-old, so you could start it anywhere between 1:30 and 2:30. That's super appropriate. And then, they're waking up at 3:30 and they can go to bed at like 6:30. Easy. 6 or 6:30, depending on how long it is. If it's an hour, that's a great time. If they're taking a 2-hour nap in the afternoon, then they don't have to go to bed till 7:30. Okay. So hopefully that helps with the 6-month-old schedule. Let's move on to Caitlin Hess. And she says, her question's a little bit longer, so I'll go ahead and read it so you can get the full picture, and then I'll, oh no. For some reason, some of her letters didn't print off. That's so weird. I know what I'll do. I'll read it off of this because I have it saved on here as well. It's like a different font or something, and it probably printed it in color, and of course my color ink is going out. So I should have made sure that was in black and white. Okay, so Caitlin, this is what her question says. When should you transition from 3 naps to 2 naps a day? Okay, so like I said, you can transition at 6 months. I don't like to do it before then, but you can transition at 6 months. You can transition between 6 and up to 8 months. I like people to start making that transition by 8.5 months, so they're fully transitioned by 9 months at the latest, right? So about 7 months is average. Okay, my baby will be 7 months next week. He goes to bed and falls asleep quickly at 7:30 each night. My husband and I wake up before 5 a.m. to go to work, which is when our baby wakes up for a bottle too. He usually falls asleep in the car on the way to the babysitter. Once we get to the babysitter's, he goes to his bed there and sleeps until 7. Okay, so I'm assuming that that's still all nighttime sleep, that he's getting a bottle and then he's sleeping longer. So he's getting about 11.5 hours of sleep a night minus, the few weeks of time, probably about 11 hours from 7:30 to 7. Okay, his first nap is around 9 for an hour, and then our babysitter has a difficult time being consistent with the second nap. It's never at the same time. Oh, it's so hard. Sometimes it's a good nap in his bed, and sometimes she just lets him sleep in his car while she runs errands for 20 minutes. We are home for his third nap, and I put him down at 3. He lays in his pack and play and screams the entire time for his third nap. I usually leave him in there for 1 hour before I go get him. Again, because the third nap doesn't have to be an hour, you can go get him before an hour. I think you asked me that next. So I would just wait like 30 to 45 minutes for that one. If he's not asleep, you can go get him. This has been happening through 3 or 4 weeks probably. Once I get him, he is happy, his happy self again until bedtime. Should I leave him longer? No, I don't want him in there too long since it's a nap, but I don't know how long. So, okay. She's also said, I tried talking with our babysitter, who is my mom, and mothers know best, about being better with his second nap, and she tries but just can't seem to get it. She knows it's important that he gets his sleep, but she only sees him for that part of the day that I'm at work. I'm guessing the problem with his third nap maybe because of his second nap. Yeah, it's hard for me to know for sure, Caitlin, because I don't know. I'd love to see, his sleep tracked over 2 weeks and be able to see okay, well, the days where he's only getting a 20-minute nap, what does his third nap look like? And what about those days where he's getting a good nap? Or does it transfer? I don't know. I just have a lot of questions about the schedule to really say what it is. A couple of things could be going on. One, he could be ready to go down for 2 naps. And if you're curious about that schedule, go rewind and start watching at 11:35. I talk about a 6-month-old schedule. 7-month-old is pretty much the same. So he could be ready for a 2-nap schedule. I would see if your mom could do the afternoon nap at home and ask her if she could do the morning nap out and about. The afternoon nap is typically more restorative, and so that's the one that I want them to have in their bed if we have a choice. So that's what I would try and do. If he's taking 20, 30, hopefully at least 45-minute nap in the car seat in the morning, I would be content with that. It's not my ideal because my ideal is in your bed, whatever. But I'd be content with that in the car seat. And then if he could take his afternoon nap, that would be my ideal. So see if she can do that. It's missing a nap can cause a child to have a hard time falling asleep later. I don't know. It's just hard to say because I don't know for sure what's going on. But I would say probably ready to go for 2 naps. And then, see if you can be more consistent about the afternoon nap and less consistent about the morning nap. That's my advice. If you have other questions, Caitlin, let me know. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Megan. She's got our last question. Again, if you didn't get your question submitted, you're welcome to go ahead and you're welcome to go ahead and submit it, put it in the comments right now, and I should have time to get to it. We're only at 18 minutes, so that's awesome. Okay, so Megan says, I have a 4-month-old daughter who is breastfed, currently considering doing formula soon. My baby literally takes 30 to 45-minute naps all day. Oh, I should have grouped this one up with our first one since they're both 4 months old, but that's okay. We will answer it again, and Megan or Laura, if you're still watching, this will be good for you. And then Megan, if you want to, you can jump back to 2 minutes, and I talk about the 2-minute marker or whatever, and I talk about another 4-month-old, so you may get some different and also helpful information there. Okay, I have Nicole. Nicole, did you just submit a question? Are you watching? Just write it in the comments right here, and I'll be able to see it better than in Messenger. Okay, let me finish reading this. 30 to 45-minute naps all day. I'm doing eat, play, sleep, but she is always awake soon, and it's not time to eat. And when I place her to the boob, she isn't hungry. Because she's waking up so soon. She's not having 3 hours in between feedings. That's what I'm guessing. She is not on a set schedule, which is driving me crazy. She goes to bed every night, and I usually have her sleep till 7, which ends up in bed with me. She sleeps in the rock and play. Oh no, and there's a word that's out on this one too. So, okay, let me see if I can. Where did I go? She sleeps in the rock and play, and need to move her to her room soon, but haven't. Planning to sleep train. Something, I don't know what that says, when my husband is home. Okay, maybe he's out of town or something. I feel like I'm replacing her binky all day for naps, and I'm super frustrated. Any advice for me? I do put her down drowsy but awake, and she cries, and I replace the binky. Sometimes she goes down, and sometimes I pick her up, get her drowsy again, and repeat. She has hit the 4-month sleep regression. She has. It's killing me. She has a good long stretch the beginning of the night, like 5 hours, and after that, it's not good. Any advice? Okay, Megan, so yeah, you and Laura are a little bit in the same situation. It sounds like she really does need to be sleep trained, that she would do a lot better with her naps and not having to replace her binky if you did some sleep training. So go to my blog on my website. If you go to www.littledreamers.us, click on the blog, and there's a blog post in there that's FAQ about sleep training or something, or of sleep training or something like that. Read that, and kind of, it goes over, some important things to know before you sleep train. What is it? What am I doing? Why is it important? Because we've got a lot of things to get rid of for her, like things that are kind of trying to help her sleep as a newborn, but as she gets older, they're just going to turn into sleep aids, and they're going to make it so that she needs the perfect situation 100% of the time to get any sleep. And the problem is we can't give that to a baby. So like sleeping with you, having that binky, being in the rock and play, like all of these things are helpful for newborns, but they have to transition out of it in order to be able to sleep as they get older, because their sleep cycles are changing into more adult-like sleep cycles. They're turning into about every 45 minutes they go through a sleep cycle, and that's a 4-month sleep regression. That's why it's awful. So both Megan and Laura, you guys would be awesome candidates for my sleep plan package, where you would get a one-on-one consultation. We talk about, the perfect sleep training method for you, how to decide which one it is, all sorts of good stuff. Any concerns, questions, special situations, anything like that. And then you would receive a personalized sleep plan. That's just for you, for your baby, where they're at. It would have a schedule. It would have all the do's, don'ts, what ifs that you need for sleep training. And then it also comes with 2 weeks of support from me. Email, text, phone calls if needed, so that you get the support that you need so you can be consistent and follow through. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you're welcome to sign up for a free 15-minute consult, and we can talk about that. But pretty much, Megan, that's what she's going to have to sleep train to start sleeping better. It will help lengthen out her naps. It will get her on a better schedule, not super consistent until about 5 months, but a better schedule. So that's what I'd recommend for you. Okay. Any other questions? Oh my goodness. Someone submitted a question and I didn't see any comments. Let me just double check and see if I can find it really quick. And then I think I can. I just know that we're not doing this next week, so I don't want to have her wait until next week. Okay. She says, so this is, who is this? Nicole Hawk. Nicole, your name looks familiar. Have you done one of these before? I hope so. I love when people return, so that's great. Nicole says, I can't get my 5-month-old 4 months with adjusted gestation. Okay, so 4-month-old to nap for more than 45 minutes. I've tried everything, including leaving him in his crib and letting him cry. Every nap is short unless I nap with him laying down. Any suggestions? Nicole, I'm sure I'd have lots of suggestions. I just don't have quite enough information to tell you what to do. I don't know if he's sleep trained yet. The thing about crying it out is it will work when we do it correctly and we've been consistent doing it. And so when you say let him cry in his crib, that's on the right track. I just don't have enough information to know, like, how long have I let him cry, and Am I doing it all the time? Am I doing it for nighttime and for naps? And does he not have any sleep aids? And is he not swaddled? And just a lot of questions, and then consistency. It takes some time, and typically when I sleep train a child that's about 4 months, they can get nights, and we do cried out, like you said, they can get nights pretty quickly. And 3 days, they've got their nights down. And the naps take a little bit more time. So if you're doing cried out and your naps aren't coming together, be consistent and give yourself time, because those can easily take a week, week and a half, 2 weeks to get them ironed out. Naps are definitely harder. So hopefully that helped answer your question last minute, so you don't have to wait 2 weeks for me to get back to you, since I just saw that one come in. If you have any other questions, let me know, you guys. And I see Megan is saying, do they need a set schedule before sleep training? No, they don't need a set Megan. They don't need a set schedule to sleep train if they are less than 5 months old. And I think, Megan, yeah, yours is 4. So you're going by wake times. So go back and listen to Laura right at the beginning. I start answering her question at 2 o'clock, and we talk about wake times and how long to keep them awake and more of what the schedule looks like. For a 4-month-old, it's a little unpredictable, but you can still sleep train with a 4-month-old. And if you want to wait to sleep train until they're on a consistent schedule that you kind of force one on them, then you want to wait till about 5 months, sometime between 5 and 6 months. Okay, thanks so much, you guys. Remember, I'm not going to be doing this next week because of Thanksgiving. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Travel safely and just enjoy yourself. Spend time with your family. That's what it's all about. And please share and like this video if it was helpful for you, and let your friends know about this good free resource that they have. And I will see you guys all back here in 2 weeks. Feel free to start submitting questions whenever you're ready by clicking Get Started on my Facebook page. Okay, thanks so much, you guys. Have a good night. Love you all. Bye-bye.